Hello and welcome to the Bookering Pod. I'm Katie.
And I'm Tawny.
And it's December, so we're
Wow.
here to talk about November. It makes sense.
It does.
However, I'm wearing like a vaguely Christmassy outfit, despite this being a November episode. Sometimes I get confused. Notably, hopefully, next to your feed, right below this, is the October episode, which will be published the same day as this because it's the 12 days of Christmas and we decided to, wait and give you an extra gift, which is two podcasts together.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
This is a thing that we decided to do on
This
purpose.
This was planned, clearly.
Absolutely was.
But we apologize for lack of episode being published in November, but not that much.
No.
It's fine. You're good.
It's fine.
It's fine. But we're so excited to talk about the books we've read in November. I read a few. Tawny read so many.
I read 17. I read 17 and it's too many. It's too many. It's too many.
I think I read 7. I think you read 10 more books than me. I think
it's unhinged. It's unhinged.
It is, but that's okay. Tawny's my hero / my goal because I'm at 79 books this year, which is so close. So close to 100. Not really.
No, it is very close.
Close enough that like now I must try my darndest to reach 100.
The goal is like within reach. It's still doable.
I did this exact thing last year, but for 50 books, I think I was at like 35 and I was like, let's go. So if I read some comic books this month, you will understand the main reason. So that's the situation. But I think we have an interesting collection of books to discuss. It will also be interesting because several of my books were just recommendations from Tawny during the podcast. So a couple of repeat reviews for the first time, really. But that'll be fun to discuss, like a little more in depth, still avoiding spoilers with Tawny. And we got some nonfiction.
Wow. We both have nonfiction to talk about.
It's this?
Wild. Who are we?
Are we?
What is this podcast?
What happened? But I'm really excited to talk about all the books that we read. It feels like this has been ages since we've done this. So Tawny, do you want to get started with your first book?
I would love to. Okay, so the first book that I'm going to talk about is 6 Crimson Cranes by Elizbeth Lim. This is a fairy tale retelling of the Wild Swans, I believe, and it's infused with East Asian folklore. It's the first half of a duology. So we're following Princess Shiori, who has forbidden magic that she's been concealing from her father and from everyone because it is illegal for her to have magic. And then on the morning of her betrothal ceremony, of which she wants no part, she loses control of her magic and she comes face to face with a dragon. And this all draws the attention of her stepmother, who finds out about her magic and then banishes her from the kingdom and curses her and her 6 brothers. Her brothers are turned into cranes, and Shiori is robbed of her voice, unable to reveal her true identity. And as chance would have it, now the only person who can help her is the betrothed that she was so eager to get away from. This is lovely. The prose is very simple and straightforward, but somehow the imagery is also still like very lush and expansive. I'm not actually familiar with the fairy tale that this is based on, but all of the like fairy tale trappings are there. And I was concerned that this was going to feel just like a retread of a million other stories that I've heard before. But I think it was done with just enough of a twist to feel fresh. The East Asian influences were really dynamic and whimsical. And I felt really invested in Shiori as a character. I've been making an effort this year to read more non-Western based fantasy. And so this one was actually recommended to me after I read the Shadow of the Fox trilogy earlier this year, which I loved, by the way. And it really did not disappoint. I'm losing my headphones. Great. Everything's going great. And I believe the second installment of this duology is coming out next year. And so I'm definitely looking forward to picking that up. This was really delightful.
No, that sounds super up my alley. I love a fairy tale retelling like so much. It's like
Ooh,
my
okay.
favorite genre. Any retelling, I'm like, yes, give it to me. So I'm really excited to read this eventually. I've heard good things about it. I've heard about it on like book TikTok and everything. So
Yeah.
I think I'll really like that. And I love simple prose.
Yes. It's like simple. It is easy to get into. It is
Nice.
fast moving. Like we're not doing purple prose here. We're getting into the story, which I really appreciate.
I like that. Okay. I'm excited to pick that up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and I gave it 4 stars, by the way.
Beautiful.
Sorry, 4 stars for
we
6
love
Crimson
to see
Cranes.
it. 4 stars. Yes. Okay. Excited to pick that up eventually. So for my first book that I want to talk about is the first nonfiction book I've read this year, I think. That feels right to me. God Bless This Mess, Learning to Live and Love Through Life's Best and Worst Moments by Hannah Brown. Some listeners may not know, but all of you should, that Tawny and I watch The Bachelor every week with our friend Jamie. We watch it and we knit or crochet together. When we all met, Jamie was the only one who watched the Bachelor franchise, and now we're all in it together. We just got to keep plowing through. We're sometimes not happy about it, but we're there. We're watching.
Endless content.
So Hannah Brown's season of The Bachelorette was probably my favorite season I've seen. It's like juicy, a lot happens, very invested in her and her love story and like a lot of the drama that happens. And she's been one of my favorite former leads to follow as well. She's had some controversies here and there, but she's always been like a very like warm, personable, like funny, like endearing, relatable person. And she's also really pretty. So I'm just like, yeah, I will follow you on Instagram and support you from afar. This is like I think the second Bachelor book I've ever read, and it's the first one that like I read that's by a Bachelor person. Others have just like been about the Bachelor franchise. So I do not actually have a good reference for whether this is better or worse than those, but I hear that it's better. So Hannah Brown, she's from Alabama. She was, I think, like 24 or 25 when she went on season 23 of The Bachelor, where she placed 7th and was sent home by Colton. And then she was the lead in season 15 of The Bachelorette. She is known for being religious and being a Christian, but then also like having sex and talking about it publicly and like that, dealing with that confrontation from a lot of like her Christian followers and things like that. So this book really investigates like her journey throughout her whole life, as well as an investigation of her faith, and then like how she was brought up and what she's learned from her experiences. It was a really interesting read. Like I feel like I learned a lot about her. It was really like fun and easy to read, and her personality really shined through. Like I was like, this feels like Hannah wrote it to me. So I was just like, yeah, this feels like that. But like she's been through so much trauma. Like her aunt and her cousins were like murdered when she was 7. She's had a lot of horrible things with men in her life, especially men who expect her to have sex with them, but then think less of her for having sex. Times when she's lost her faith and times when she's gotten it back, and what she's learned from The Bachelor. So I really did enjoy reading this. I read it in like one sitting in like a couple hours. It was like very quick, easy to read. And I think it's just like very interesting. I don't know a ton of super religious people, especially from the South. I don't know a ton of like Greek life like sorority girls either. So I think it was like really good, like very insightful about like a type of person that I follow but don't know that much about. I think a lot of like her decisions and like the actions she's done make a lot of sense now. And I think it also is really good because it brings to light the importance of mental health and therapy. One of like the most striking like revelations for me was that one of the reasons why she was like such a good contestant for reality television is that she had never been able to go to therapy before. So she was like treating her one-on-ones with production like as like therapy sessions, which is extremely unhealthy because it's a very vulnerable environment to be in. And that like makes so much sense about like why like the Bachelor production like loved her, because she was so revealing and like went so deep, and she would like really deep down into her emotions because she hadn't had that access before. And I think one of the biggest things was like the importance of journaling, self-reflection and therapy and mental health. So I recommend this if you watch The Bachelor. I don't really recommend this if you have not watched The Bachelor. It's just like you won't care. Because like a lot of this is being like enjoying the tea about like other relationships and flings and everything. Tyler Cameron, a very hot contestant on The Bachelorette, they had like a whole saga, and I used to not be on his side but like understand his position, and now I'm like, never mind. What a trash boy, what a trash man. So really recommend it if you watch The Bachelor at all, especially if you've seen Hannah's season and liked her. Otherwise, no, don't read this book about the Bachelorette. Don't do that. But I had a great time. I gave it like 3.5 stars out of 5 because it was not like, literature incredibly well written, but I think it was like very insightful. Like I learned a lot from it, and I also had fun. So that was God Bless This Mess by Hannah Brown.
I am very excited to read this. I did make Katie be the guinea pig. I would not commit to reading this until she had read it and told me her thoughts. But now I'm very excited to read it. It sounds very fun and juicy, and that's what I want in nonfiction. I'm so sorry for the people who read.
Yeah, I'm like, I finally read a nonfiction book. It is a memoir by a Bachelor person. So, yeah, that was that. Tawny, do you want to talk about
Yes. So my next book is Regretting You by Colleen Hoover. Back at it again with another Colleen Hoover joint.
This is one of the rare times when you've read a Colleen Hoover book before me.
This has never
it's like I feel like it's usually the other way.
It is always the other way. This has never happened before. But this, okay, I like full disclosure, this was just available as like one of the Libby Lucky Day loans, and I was like, sure, why not? And then I only had 7 days to read it, so then I simply had to. The pressure was on. Sure,
why not be upset?
Yeah, why not just throw myself into emotional turmoil, some casual devastation for a random Tuesday. Sounds lovely. This book follows mother and daughter Morgan and Clara. And so Morgan got pregnant in high school. She married Clara's father, Chris, and now Clara is in high school, and Morgan is a bit of an overprotective mom, dead set on not letting Clara repeat her own mistakes. And then when Chris is in a tragic and mysterious car accident, everything in their world is kind of upended. Morgan then has to confront a lot of issues with her marriage and confront her feelings for sort of the one that got away in high school. And Clara is just trying to navigate her very first relationship, which happens to be with a boy that her mother does not approve of. And so it's sort of told in dual POV from both of these women. Listen, this is good. But this is my least favorite Colleen Hoover so far. And I think it's because I didn't quite connect personally with either of the main characters. Morgan is a mom, and she's trying to deal with issues in her marriage and confronting her regrets of her past. And Clara is, I'm sorry, but just like an annoying teenager. And so sometimes it's frustrating to read from Clara's POV, just because, like every teen, she thinks that she knows everything and is fundamentally wrong about all of it. And so I did think that both of the romances that we're following were cute, but again, it just didn't quite hit for me because I couldn't really get there with Clara or Morgan. I do still highly recommend this. It's Colleen Hoover, so it's obviously really well written and compelling, and the characters are really fleshed out. And if you like emotional turmoil, dive right in. So if the premise appeals to you, definitely pick it up. It was just I was maybe not the audience for this issue. So I did give this 3 stars, but it's still really good.
Okay. Yeah, I think I bought a bunch of Colleen Hoover paperbacks when they were on sale at some point, and I think I might have this one somewhere in a pile. So I'll read it eventually. I'm interested.
It will still be a very quick, one day
read. Read it so fast.
Yeah.
I'm so curious because so far my least favorite one is what's the one about the dad?
Ugly Love. Wait.
Yes.
No.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So I feel like that's still my bottom tier. I feel like that's not. Oh no. We'll see. But speaking of reading books that Tawny has read, my next one is The Charm Offensive by Alison Cohcrun, which I do believe was that in the October episode, Tawny?
I think it was September.
It was in September. Okay. So, and this is also appropriate because this is The Bachelor meets Red, White, and Royal Blue is kind of what I would say. So if you listen to our September episode, you know that the premise is Charlie is the Bachelor. It's called something else. He's the Bachelor. It doesn't matter. He's the Bachelor. And he's the Bachelor because he had a big blow up at work where he was fired for being difficult to work with, and he needs to rework his image. And Dev is a producer, longtime producer for the series, and he's put in charge of handling Charlie the lead. And it turns out, who could possibly guess, they are both gay, but Dev out gay and knowing who he is and having the identity resolve, and Charlie being oh, I've literally never experienced sexual attraction before I have met Dev. So I really liked it. I think I liked it more than Tawny. I give it 5 out of 5 stars, and Tawny gave it 4 out of 5 stars. For me, I think it handled a coming out narrative and The Bachelor so well, and I was not expecting to, even 20 pages in, to give a single shit about the secondary characters at all. And then it turns out oh no, it is kind of similar to Casey McQuiston, where it's a cast of lovable queer people, turns out, who all go to therapy, and they all work together to make things happen. And it was just such a nice idealistic view of what The Bachelor could be one day, maybe. And I just had a really good time. I thought all of the obstacles really made sense. Dev is dealing with mental health issues, which he thinks are abnormal, and he thinks that people would look down on him for having, when obviously everyone is queer and has mental health issues, as I've come to learn in my 20s. So really cute romance, good sex scenes, just by the way, and I had a really good time reading it. So if Tawny's review wasn't enough to convince you to read it, I'm telling you, it's even better than Tawny said. I will say I almost gave it 4 stars because there were 5 typos that I noticed, and I never noticed that. I never noticed that when I'm reading, ever. And I was just someone didn't catch these, and that's rough.
Someone goofed.
Someone goofed. But yeah, other than literally just spelling and grammar, and that was just so tiny. It was just a typo. Yeah, there was nothing I didn't like about it. I'm so excited for the sequel whenever that comes out. I want it so bad. So I'm waiting for it. Really liked it. The Charm Offensive by Alison Cohcrun. 5 stars.
Yes, it was so cute. I also really enjoyed it. I definitely, everyone read it. It's so cute. Okay, more cute rom-coms to come. Because next I'm going to talk about The Tourist Attraction by Sarah Morgenthaler. Morgenthaler. So
Yes.
something along those
Yeah.
lines.
Mhm.
And okay, so there's this Instagram account that we both love. And it is called We Treats and Bubbly. And she's great. She's so good. And so the woman who runs it is named Katie. And she has talked extensively about this book and this like series of rom-coms. And that is why I picked this up. And so this follows Graham Barnett, and he is a grumpy diner owner in a small Alaskan resort town, and he hates tourists. And
Is it Luke?
it's Luke. It is
Yes!
absolutely Luke Danes. It is Luke Danes. So Zoe Caldwell is a truck stop waitress from the Midwest who has always dreamed of going to Alaska, and she's been saving for years to take this 2-week trip of her dreams to Moose Springs, Alaska. And on her first night in Moose Springs, she and her friend Lana stop into the diner that I almost said that Luke owns, that Graham owns. And Graham decides that he might just have to break his no tourists rule. There's like a lot of like wacky stuff and a lot of things where like all of her excursions are going wrong, and she has to be like saved from the wilderness multiple times, which is a little excessive but still like cute and fun. And okay, so I am obviously all for like enemies to lovers, will they, won't they tension, but sometimes it's really nice to read a book where two people are just very into each other right off the bat and are willing to immediately admit that they're very into each other. Sometimes that's just refreshing. So I did really like that. Also, I like that the stakes are essentially built in to the premise. Like, she is only in town for 2 weeks, and like Alaska is not super accessible. Long distance is not really going to be a thing. And so like we don't have to deal with a pointless miscommunication third act breakup, because like their potential separation is absolutely like valid. And so there are actual legitimate reasons why maybe they can't be together, and I appreciated that as well. Trigger warning for just like a lot of ketchup. I like listen, I hate ketchup so much, like with every fiber of my being. It sounds so gross to me. And there's just a lot of ketchup talked about. No one else has this problem. This is not for anyone but me, but I just need to talk about the ketchup. There was so much. And just, okay, so this was just super cute. It's not technically a holiday read because it does take place in the summer. But just small town Alaska has cozy winter vibes regardless. So I still think that this is seasonally appropriate. And yeah, 4 stars to the tourist attraction. It's very cute and fun.
I will be picking this up this month to add to something I assume will take not long to read.
Yes.
And also
so
will match the vibes of most of the other books I'm reading this month. So excited for that. Excited to read a rom-com with Luke Danes. That's all I want, actually, ever. I remember seeing your review on Goodreads like the other day, and you said something about moose, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm in it. I don't know why, but that was enough. Just moose. Incredible. Okay. Another Tawny recommendation that I read this month was Ace of Spades by Abike-Iyimide Fardiah, and I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. This is Gossip Girl meets Get Out. That's a very appropriate description, I would say, and more appropriate than you even know. So the main characters are Devon and Shyamaka. Oh no, I should have looked this up beforehand. But Devon, then Chai, they both go to fancy private school, mostly white private school, notably the only Black people at their fancy private school called Niveus Academy. Chai is like the big she's like the head girl, she's like in charge, she's like very popular, and Devon's like added to head boy for whatever reason for his grade, and it's just like weird. Devon's like really into music, Chai is like trying to just be the best one, get into the best schools, all of the things, And then suddenly they start getting Gossip Girl style texts about things they've done in the past. Like Devon is outed as being gay and Shy is like accused of shoplifting, and it gets worse and worse from there. And they have to work together to figure out what's going on. This was really, really good. And I think this was like a really, really good book to exist. I think it investigates a lot of issues with white supremacy and racism, and especially the like from unintentional to intentional in our institutions in our life. I thought there was like a lot to unpack, a lot to talk about, a lot to think about. I feel like it did not quite stick the landing. Like it goes to a place that's like very big and it just feels a little not grounded. And I just needed like some more to like stick to it, some more investigation of like, if this is the case, can we like explore that a little bit more? And the ending felt rushed in that regard. And also just like when everything else felt so grounded and detailed and like based very firmly in reality, and then for it to go veer to like very big idea. The idea is definitely like correct and relevant and like it definitely gets the point across, but it just like was very different from the rest of the book, and I just wanted more investigation into that. That's a very general way to say it without spoiling it to you, but Tawny knows what I'm talking about. We had a long text conversation about this actually right when I finished it, but I really, really liked it. I definitely recommend it to everyone. Honestly, I think of the books that I'm talking about today, like if you're going to choose one, read this one. I think it's the most important one. It just did not quite stick the landing, but I wanted it to really bad. So Ace of Spades, 4 out of 5 stars.
And I do agree with, so I did give this one 5 stars, but I do agree with all of your critiques. I like just things fell apart just a little bit at the end. I needed like just a little bit more. But I think I don't know, for me, I was just like I was so in it. It's just so well done up until just like that very end. And so it's definitely on that 4 to 5 spectrum. And I don't think I've seen any of the like book people that I follow give it anything less than 4. I don't know.
No, everyone really, really likes it, and
so
it's deserved. And just like it's just like so many small things. And if it wasn't like the ending, if it wasn't like the reveal, that what like I think I would have still given it 5 stars, but just because it was like the climax and everything, it was just like I just need more. I just needed like a little more investigation, a little
bit harder.
Also, I don't know what the author has against the character of Devon, but like give him a break. Just like leave him alone. Like please pick 2 things. Pick 2 bad things to happen to this character.
He had it so much worse than Schumacher. Bad. Like
I just like there's like another like it's already really terrible because you know the first thing for Chai is like being framed as shoplifting, which sucks and is terrible as a person of color, as a Black person. Devon is being outed as gay. That's so much harder. That's so much.
It's so dangerous.
It's so dangerous. Like, he's like in like really like around like gangs and like drug dealing. I think it's so dangerous. And it just gets worse from there. And there's a final straw for me, like near the end. And I'm like, okay, you can't dump this on us and then also not do anything about it. Clearly, we should have done this in addition for the in-depth review, but it's okay.
Yeah, I think in hindsight. But yeah, there is a final thing that happens to him, and I'm like, why? What?
I'm like, what? And then what? Doesn't do anything with it. It's just there.
It's the final tragedy for this poor kid. And my God.
Like, you know, credit to the author for like making me care so much. But like truly, I'm just like, oh my God, leave him alone. I can't deal with this. So anyways, Ace of Spades, really, really good. Starts out very fun and then just like, you know, then you just get upset, but it's so okay. Upsetting. It's worth it. It's
so stressful.
You should read it. It's really, really good. like I cannot emphasize enough, Gossip Girl meets Get Out. That's just really the entire vibe. Yeah. So read Ace of Spades. Do it. Okay.
Do it. Okay. So next I am going to talk about The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. And I have a lot of things to say. I'm so sorry. I apologize up front because I have too many things to say. But okay, so first of all, stop me when this sounds familiar. This is a grumpy sunshine office rom-com. I do love interest.
I've stopped you. This sounds familiar.
Our two love interests hate each other after a small thing that happens after they first meet. They work in the same position. There's a promotion on the table. Someone needs a fake date to a wedding. The man.
Is this the same book?
It is the same book.
This is the hating game
the whole time.
This
is the hating game, the remix. It is absolutely like it's the same book. But
okay.
But actually, so Lena and Aaron, they're workplace enemies. Lena needs a date to her sister's wedding in Spain, which is rapidly approaching. Her ex-boyfriend happens to be the best man, and there's a lot of pressure on her to show up as impressive as possible. Oh, and oops, she also may have lied to her family and told them that she was bringing her boyfriend, which she doesn't have. Enter nemesis Aaron, who repeatedly offers to go to this wedding with her, knowing that eventually she will get desperate enough and eventually give in. Will they fall in love? Who can say? Who?
I don't think so. I think like they both go on dating apps and like find different people, and it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
And okay, so I liked this. I liked this a lot. I gave it 4 stars. I'm saying this now because everything I'm about to say is going to sound like I did not like this.
I really love that twice now in this episode you've been like, I liked this book.
But so please keep this in mind as I complain. So first and foremost, I want to issue a content warning for disordered eating. And I don't think that it was handled particularly well. Part of the pressure that Lena is putting on herself to look as good as possible for this wedding is extreme dieting. This is definitely fine to include here, I think. Particularly around wedding culture, weight loss is huge and usually not healthy. So having this be a thing feels accurate. It feels real. And it is definitely portrayed as a healthy thing. Like it is called out, like what she's doing is not good. However, Lena she's like on this crash diet, constantly saying things like, quote, she's not allowed to have certain treats. Or at one point she's super hungry and she's like, oh, I just need to drink some water, which is a thing that we've all been told in our life. If you're hungry, just drink water. Goodness gracious. She then has this health scare where she passes out at work. And Aaron, our love interest, finds her as she's passed out, and he yells at her for what she's been doing. And he says, quote, you are smarter than this. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. First of all, please don't talk to people like that. Second of all, one does not simply outsmart an eating disorder. The world is not divided into people who have eating disorders and people who are too smart for that. Like an eating disorder is not a logical condition that you outthink. It is an emotional, psychological thing. It's very layered, and I found that very triggering. Additionally, this conversation apparently cures her of her eating disorder. This man yells at her, and she's just like, you know what? You're right.
I am smarter than that. You're right.
Yep, you're
Every
right.
habit and intrusive thought I've had will now go away because I am smarter than that.
I'm smarter than that. You're absolutely correct. And then it's done. Okay. And then she wakes up the next morning cured of this eating disorder. And she's like, I'm going to have triple chocolate brownie sundae for breakfast. What can I say? I'm a woman of extremes. I'm sorry, but no. To me, this does not read as a woman who is cured of her eating disorder. This looks like a cycle of extreme deprivation followed by binging.
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And like, I do not have any problem with anyone eating brownies for breakfast. I am almost certain that I have done this. Like, please, please, please never, ever, ever feel guilty for anything that you're eating ever. But I'm sorry, one does not go from obsessively controlling everything they're putting into their mouth to then for the rest of the book, just like eating pastries nonstop. And like it, and feel chill about it. Like, that's not how that works. And the fact that the author is implying that this is what recovery looks like feels very dangerous to me. And maybe I'm taking this too seriously because this is a pattern that I personally have experienced, and it like just really struck a nerve. Because after that, it's just never brought up again. Like, they talk about food so much in this book, and it's simply never a problem for her again. Which feels cheap and unrealistic. So I think we either needed more discussion around this or much less. Like, it is fine to touch on like unhealthy dieting culture in the wedding sphere and not make it like a big thing. That would be fine. Or if you're going to go this route, you need to like really dive in. But to have it be a major plot point for the first half of the book and then never mentioned again is weird.
Yeah, because it definitely takes work to break that cycle of behavior.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's not shown as taking work, and it's not shown as like taking introspection and like maybe therapy and like thinking about eating more into like that, like that is harmful. Like giving like, oh, all you need is for your boyfriend to yell at you and then you'll just be fine and eat pastries all the time and it's not a problem and you'll feel great about it, because that's not how it works ever at all.
That is simply not the cure for an eating disorder. And so that was just like a little crappy to me. However, like this is like striking a nerve with me personally. If this is not something that has ever been a problem for you, this is likely not going to register for you as like something annoying as you're reading. So I guess keep that in mind. I'm gonna like step down from my soapbox slightly, but I do still have a couple more critiques. So some of the dialogue is written kind of weird. Like the author doesn't use very many contractions in dialogue, which felt a little clunky. And at first I thought it was a nuance for the main character, Lena, since English was not her first language, but it's everyone. So it's just like an odd choice. I also think that this could have been more aggressively edited. It's like almost 500 pages, which seems long for a rom-com. And some of the bits at the beginning were a little bit slow. But I will say that this was originally published just to Kindle Unlimited. And from what I've heard, authors get paid by Kindle Unlimited based on page turns. So I think there's like an incentive to make those books longer. So, you know, it is what it is. And then there's more. I'm so sorry. Lena, she faces a lot of like misogyny at work. Particularly in one meeting at the very beginning, she's given a work task that she is like neither qualified for nor wants to do. And she's given this task specifically because she is the only woman. And she speaks up for herself, but doesn't get anywhere. And none of the men in the meeting, including our love interest, back her up at all. And when she calls Aaron out on it, he's like, I didn't think you needed anyone to speak up for you. That's one of the things that I respect most about you. And absolutely not, bro. Absolutely not. She tried just that to speak up for herself and was denied. And this is why men need to speak up in these situations, because sexist men are only willing to listen to other men. This is not a you need to rescue a damsel in distress situation. This is a you need to put a stop to misogynistic work culture. I don't know. And it was like supposed to be this romantic thing that he said to her. And I'm like, no, actually, I think this means that you are complicit, not that you respect her. So there's that. And then finally, and this is a small but weird choice. So these two people do the exact same job at the exact same company. But there's this weird wealth gap between them. Aaron is super wealthy. And it's explicitly stated that he comes from like family money. And this is totally fine. This is a real thing that exists. It's fine. But it created this like strange power imbalance. And I couldn't figure out why the choice was made. I'm not sure if this was like supposed to make him more desirable or something, but I thought it was strange. So there's that. Again, I want to reiterate that I enjoyed this book.
Tawny, you convinced me to like not read the book.
Oh no.
Because you're like, the beginning's slow, it's really long. There's bad discussion of eating disorder. The man is kind of contributing to a misogynistic workplace. And like there's like a weird wealth gap like vibe and for no reason. So like all I'm seeing, and it's like, and you're like, and it's the same plot as the Hating Game. So you're presenting to me reasons to not read this book. Would you like to present a reason to read the book?
Okay, so the thing is that I do recommend it. Okay, I think the romance itself is very cute. I do always like it when the man has been pining the whole time kind of situation. It's a slow burn, which is not usually my thing. But it was really successful. The author did a really, really good job of creating tension. And like, because it's very far in the book before, this is not going to convince you. It's very far in the book before they hook up or anything happens, but it feels very earned, and you get like just enough little pieces as you go to like remain invested. So I don't know. I gave it 4 stars. I had a lot of notes as I was going, things that were just rubbing me the wrong way. Despite everything that I said, I did actually like the love interest apart from like those 2 really glaring things. Everything else is really good with him. It's just I don't know. So I have a lot of complicated emotions about this. I do think it's good. I actually do think that you would like it. But yeah, I don't have a ton of compelling reasons for you to read this apart from I think you'd like it.
Maybe one day.
Maybe
one day. Speaking of problematic romance book, my next book that I'm discussing is a book that everyone else read in like 2015, but I like to be 6 years behind with my reading. So I read The Royal We by Heather Cox, which is pretty much Will and Kate fan fiction. It was these 2 authors who have a blog together. I'm not familiar with the blog, but they have a blog together, and they decided to write this book, which is just like about like an imagining of like Will and Kate falling in love. Their names are Rebecca Porter, who is the American who comes to Oxford to study whatever for study abroad, and Nick, who is the prince. Nick has a hot brother and a mom with mental health illness, who is out of camera, and that's interesting that they did it like that. So like the first half of the book is like Nick and Bex like falling in love while they're at Oxford, like kind of slow burn romance, and the second half is them like navigating like dating like a royal, like what that looks like what a courtship looks like, what an engagement looks like, and there is like a lot of different obstacles in their midst. I really liked the first half, which was the slow burn friends to lovers romance, like them like watching like this weird show together, like Rebecca like realizing like, oh, I'm in love with him, and like her confessing her feelings. That was like all like so good, like really well done. Really loved it. The second half like really just like lost me. It's like quite long, like similar to what you're saying. It's like very long for a romance, and it was way more like fiction than romance, I would say. Like it was like fiction with romance in it, but it wasn't, you know, there weren't like sex scenes or whatever. It was like a lot less than like the rom-coms I'm used to. I thought like a lot parts were interesting, like thinking about how like the royal family is like portrayed and treated and what they can and can't do. I thought the characters were well fleshed out. But like honestly, the obstacle at the end, I was like, this is pretty dumb actually, and I don't like it. And why did you choose this? Because it was definitely an imagining thing, and probably not a real thing that happened with Kate and Will, and Harry. So that was just like weird, and I didn't like how they resolved it. I didn't have zero desire to read the next book at all. But I did really like the first part, and that was pretty much just like Will and Kate fall in love, and it's like, oh, it's cute. So don't read this book, like watch like The Prince and Me with Julia Stiles instead, probably.
Yeah, definitely do that. So I read this several years ago, and I actually did read it because I was very into their blog at the time. That's a fashion blog, and it's like a snarky celebrity fashion situation, which was really fun. And so I don't remember everything crystal clear, but all of your critiques are what I remember about it. Like, this is too long. The first half was great, and then it felt like such a slog after that. Like, it was just no longer very interested in it. I also gave it 3 stars. It's fine. The first half was good. It was very promising, and then it just really drops off. I have not read the second one, and I don't plan to.
Zero interest. Zero. Just, yeah, I gave it 3 and 5 stars, which honestly feels generous. I did really, really like the first half, and then it was just like getting through the rest of it. And I think this started the reading slump I've been in like since that, honestly, because I've just been like, that took so long to get through. So I don't really recommend it. There's so much better American Falls in Love with Prince content out there. You don't need this. So The Royal We by Heather Cox. Sorry.
Like okay. Lastly, for me, is my nonfiction entry for the episode. And it is Larger Than Life, A History of Boy Bands from New Kids on the Block to BTS by Maria Sherman. And in order for me to talk about this book, I need you to understand who I am as a person. You understand, Katie. I need everyone else to understand. So my old roommate, Molly, I don't think she'll ever listen to this, but hi, Molly, introduced me to the pure delight that is NSYNC live from Madison Square Garden. This is what started it all. It's just a concert movie from their No Strings Attached tour that aired on HBO in the early aughts. And we became obsessed with it. We learned the choreography. We threw literal birthday parties for Justin Timberlake, and we made everyone else watch it with us. We made t-shirts and bedazzled bandanas, a cake. We made
this is me in my Reputation Stadium Tour concert on Netflix era.
Yes, it is. Together, she and I we buddy read Lance Bass's memoir, which was definitely ghostwritten. And it was a whole thing. It was a whole obsession. And then in 2013, my sister and I went to see One Direction, This Is Us concert movie in theaters. And it is not even dramatic to say that this changed my life. I have now seen One Direction more than a dozen times in concert. I have crossed state and international borders to see One Direction in concert. I've also seen the Jonas Brothers, Backstreet Boys, and Hanson in concert. Some of these are very recent. Did you know that boy bands are basically a musical found family?
Yeah, I did know that. So, especially One Direction.
Yes.
Has there ever been a more found family in your whole life?
No, there has never. I mean, potentially the Fast and Furious crew, but they're fiction. So, it's fine. These are my interests. So basically, all of that to say, I like boy bands entirely unironically, just earnestly. So what I'm saying is, why did I not write this book is what I would like to know, but it's fine. So this book chronicles boy band history, starting with Motown and ending with BTS. So each of the major boy bands get their own section discussing sort of how they were formed and in most cases broken up. There's a lot of behind the scenes insight. It also examines like their cultural impact, their musical influences, the trends they both started and adopted. And it's like a bunch of mini episodes of behind the music, but for boy bands. Sherman also gives smaller snippets on lesser known boy bands and sort of one hit wonders. So everyone here is represented. But my favorite thing about this is how seriously she treats the subject matter. This is not like a jokey or tongue-in-cheek sort of product. This is like a thorough documentation that is treated with love and care. And like, because one of the dumbest things in the whole world is how things that are created to appeal to women and specifically to young women are constantly discredited, discounted, and never ever taken seriously. These are things that are supposed to be like a source of shame if you genuinely enjoy them. And this book does a really good job of being like, actually, no, all of these things are worthy of attention and respect if you enjoy them. And I just really appreciate that because it's very rare that this kind of subject matter is treated that way. And my main critique is how little time is spent on the BIPOC founders of the format. Boy bands essentially started with Motown and Black groups like the Temptations and the Jackson 5. Modern boy bands owe their roots to like New Edition and Menudo. And all of that is plainly stated and acknowledged in the book. It's not skipped over. But we really move on from that sort of within the first 20 pages of the book. And I think more could have been done to like explore the whitewashing in the industry and the foundations that were laid by these earlier groups. Even the ones that were less successful or less well known, I think it could have been helpful to pay more homage to them. But in all, I really enjoyed this. It's fairly short, so I wholeheartedly recommend this to anyone who is a fan of boy bands or even just like interested in music history. I think it is really well done. 4 stars to Larger Than Life.
That's so cute and fun, and I'm so glad it exists for you. And if I read nonfiction more, I would probably be interested. However,
yeah. This is like the second nonfiction book I've read this year, and it is specifically for the
I don't know
matter.
why. I'm just like, yeah, that topic sounds interesting. I'm like, if it was a podcast, I'd listen to it, and if it was a rom-com, I'd read it. But nonfiction, gross.
That is absolutely fair. That's absolutely fair.
So we just need the podcast version. Author lady,
yes,
please do it.
Maria, do it.
And then they can interview like One Direction and
oh my God.
Listen.
Yes, like the less famous members. Like,
yeah.
Apologies to Louis Tomlinson, but what you got going on? Like, not a lot.
Not a lot. You go on the pod. Yeah. Excited for there to be a podcast because of our podcast.
Yes, we're birthing this spinoff podcast. Someone do it. I want to listen to it.
Please. I do. Please. Okay. Well, for my last book, it is another Tawny recommendation, and it was and it happened one summer by Tessa Bailey. This is a Grumpy Sunshine yet again, and it's I just learned it was inspired by Schitt's Creek when I was looking up the character names again, and I did not register that when I was reading it, but now I'm like, yes, this makes sense. But Piper is like late, like 26, 27, like late-ish 20-year-old woman in the Bellinger family who like her dad's like a big director and she's just a party girl. She's on Instagram, she's an Instagram model, she just goes to party, and then her dad one day is like, hey, you gotta stop, you can't keep doing it, you gotta stop. I'm shipping you to Alaska where your mother fell in love with your father, because actually I'm your stepfather. I'm doing such a bad job recapping this book. It's okay, because
You're doing amazing. You're doing amazing.
Because actually I'm your stepfather, and your real father is a fisherman who died at sea trying to get crabs. So anyway, you're gonna go to where your mom met this man, and we own a pub, and you're gonna live there for like a few weeks. And Piper's lovely sister Hannah, who is like, as well off as Piper, as privileged, but like she has like at least a real job kind of thing, is like, I will go with my sister for emotional support. So Piper and Hannah go to Alaska, and who do they meet but a grumpy hot fisherman whose wife died years ago? Wow. Do they fall in love? Do they have a lot of sex? Is that great do they renovate a pub? Yes. These are all yeses.
In case anyone was confused, this is a yes.
Yes. I had a really good time reading this. I'm looking at my notes where I have written The Royal We, 3 out of 5 stars. It happened one summer, 3 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed this one book way more than the other book. Something's wrong here. But the thing, it just, I really had a really good time reading it. Like, I recommend it. I had a great time. Brendan, the hot fisherman's dialogue, I have so many objections to. So many. I can't with the honeys, the princesses.
Yeah.
I can't. Maybe this is just the people who hate this kind of baby talk, which is specifically like, I hate it so much. Please never, anyone ever, please never do this. So I think that itself was like a whole star knocked off, that Brendan was constantly like this. It was just like so uncomfortable, and I couldn't do it. And then I don't remember the plot reason why I didn't like about the plot. There was like something. I was just like, I found the like the third act problem a little frustrating, especially because it just like came down to like very bad timing by like a half hour, and that's just kind of like there was other stuff that they could have done there. And then the ending, like the climax scene when the people are in LA, that was like a whole thing. Anyway, I really liked it. Like, very fun setup. I really like Hannah. I really like Brendan's friend. I like the Alaska vibes. Despite the dialogue, sex scenes fire, but the dialogue was a damper on that fire, just like considerably. And yes, so I recommend it. 3.5 out of 5 stars at the least. Yeah, if you like rom-coms, read this. It's a fun time. Anyways, that was the most chaotic review I've ever done in my whole life. I just had a lot of weird feelings about it. I
think that's all super fair. And like, okay, so the issue with the sexual dialogue is a thing that I have struggled with in all Tessa Bailey books. So
I have 2 in my Kindle homepage right now. Oh my God.
So my situation with Tessa Bailey. So this is the first Tessa Bailey that I read, and full disclosure, I gave this 5 stars. I had a fun time. I really liked that the heroine was just like kind of shallow and vapid, but like with a heart of gold.
That's something I really like. That she's shallow, but like that's okay. There's nothing wrong with like enjoying shopping and like having parties and doing that. There's nothing wrong with, and I really like that the book embraced that. I do really appreciate that.
They really did not treat it like, oh, she has to change who she is to be like this salt of the earth person. No. And like, I really enjoyed that the love interest also appreciated that about her. He was like, yeah, this is fine.
Okay, but the moment when he was like, oh, also I'm a millionaire, just like out of nowhere, I'm like, okay. Casually, crabs are really expensive, so I'm a millionaire. And I'm just like, all right, okay.
And so, okay, the other thing that I did really enjoy, so I am a person who many days after school would come home and watch a Deadliest Catch marathon on like Discovery Channel. And so this all felt very like nostalgic to me, the like king crab fisherman kind of situation. So I was into that too. I do want to say though, like after you read it and gave it 3 stars, I was really questioning my feelings about it because every other Tessa Bailey book that I've read, I've given 2 to 3 stars. Some of them have been more like maybe 3 to 3.5 ish. Like they're all fine. And I am generally very into the premise of like most of them. Most of them sound very appealing to me. And then something happens in the execution where I'm like, I don't know. And then I just keep reading them because I feel like I've read like 6 Tessa Bailey books this year. And like, I really intend to read the sequel of this. I am excited to read about the sister.
I am so excited for this. I'm so invested in this ship of the other relationship that's introduced in the book. I'm so invested. I'm like so gung-ho about it. I'm gonna be so disappointed for some reason. I'm ready to be disappointed. I know it. I'm gonna be reading is it Window Shopping?
Yes.
I'm gonna be reading that soon. We'll see.
Yeah.
How that goes. It's a holiday theme. We like holidays.
It is.
So,
we do.
Yeah, we do. We like I think it's gonna be about a shopaholic, probably. Yes?
No.
Okay, shock. Shock. But anyways. I'm just excited to read it. But yeah, I think it sounds like based on other reviews you've done on Goodreads that she writes very like possessive, dominant male love interests, which are fine, but I think it's the dialogue that kind of kills it for us.
Yes,
because it's uncomfortable and I don't like it.
And I do know that is super appealing to some people. And sometimes it can be appealing, like it's not the dialogue, but sometimes like a possessive love interest can be appealing on some level to me as well. But not
we don't need to talk about who has what kink. We don't. We don't like the dialogue.
Yeah. So it's just, it's fine. It's fine, but not always.
So, like, if you're gonna read one of the romances that I recommended today, read The Charm Offensive. But then if you want to read a second one, read It Happened One Summer. Yeah. That was the main section of the pod, Tawny. We did it.
We did it.
I have to go to the bathroom.
Me too.
Incredible. We're gonna adjourn and we'll return after a commercial break.
That's right.
That's right. We have ads. That ad should be an ad for the podcast that we just thought of about boyfriends.
Yes.
Okay. So we're gonna do that, and then we'll be back with the in-depth section. We're gonna discuss Little Secrets by Jennifer Hillier. So we'll be right back. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that wonderful ad that you just experienced.
It was a great one.
Did. It was delicious, and it was a brownie is what I just ate. I'm doing fine, guys. We're at the point where we talk about a book we've both read in depth and with spoilers, and that book is Little Secrets by Jennifer Hillier, which I read last month and told Tawny she had to read it. I came upon
and then I read it.
And then she read it. I came upon this book by one of my favorite influencers, which is Things I Bought and Liked. Who she doesn't post pictures or like aspirational photos. She's just like, hi, I bought this and I liked it. And it's very influential, I gotta say. I'm just like, damn, yeah. And she was like, this is the best book I've read this year, and everyone bought it. That's the story. Anyways, Tawny, person with notes.
Yes,
would you like
okay. Little Secrets. So this book, hold on. Starting off with non-spoilery plot summary, and then we will get to spoilers later. So this book follows Marin, she's like a successful celebrity hairstylist, kind of, living in Seattle. And one day her son is abducted at a farmer's market by someone in a Santa costume. we immediately jump to sort of 1 year later, and her life has all but fallen apart. Her son has never been found. She's depressed. Her marriage is crumbling. And then a private investigator that she has hired to try to look for her son tells her that her husband is cheating on her. And that's all I'm going to say in the non-spoiler section. So if you don't want spoilers, you can skip ahead.
Spoiler time.
Spoiler time.
It's amazing how there's like literally so little you can say about it before it veers into spoiler.
Yeah, because it gets so crazy and it goes in a direction that I was absolutely not anticipating.
So for those who are listening who haven't read the book because you don't care, that's fair. She hires a hitman to kill the woman that her husband's cheating on her with, which is wild that she actually does this. And she meets the hitman through her best friend who's like definitely still in love with her. And like that's like a whole thing.
They were like they dated in college. He's still in love with her. And
it's fine.
It's
friends. Fine. It's not fine. Spoiler alert. He kidnapped her son. Anyway. Anyway. But like, and then okay, what shook me was when we switched to that girl's POV. I was not expecting that at all. And I was like, oh damn, like look at this go. I was like, what's happening?
So the mistress, she's this very young barista. And she has like this pattern of forming relationships with older, married, wealthy men, and then blackmailing them for money to when the relationship eventually deteriorates. And she uses this money to pay for like her mom's continuing care for her deteriorating health. So it's like a complex sort of thing that we've got going on. I was not expecting, I think her name was Mackenzie. And I was not expecting to switch to her POV either. And like, honestly, what I thought this book was going to be about going in was just about her trying to find her son. I was like, this is what this is going to be. And then the thing is,
because when I was describing it to you, I was like, yeah, so her son dies and then she finds out her husband's cheating on her. And that's all I can say, which is exactly what you just did in the non-spoiler thing. And you so think that this is going to be centered on like, oh, she's going to find her son, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, no.
And I also have to say that like the mystery thrillers that are sort of centered around like cheating spouses are generally not compelling at all to me. That's usually just like boring stuff. But this is done in such like wild and interesting way. Like she pays $250,000 to have this barista murdered. And it gets wild.
It's so complicated. So like this is the spoiler section. So it turns out that what's his name? Is his name Nick?
His name is Saul. The friend?
I'm just like imagining in my head the character is Nick from New Girl. Like this is
because he is just like a kind of a scummy bar owner.
Yes. But he's the one, he kidnapped the son because he was like hoping like, oh, this will like cause more problems in the relationship.
Yeah,
and then
they'll drive a wedge.
Drive them a wedge between them. And then they'll get divorced and then I can be with her, which is absurd. What an insane thought process. Truly.
Yeah. He also like his bar is struggling. He's struggling financially.
His mom is struggling.
Yeah. Yes. So he wanted to like extort money from them as well. So he's like, I want this man's money. I want this man's wife. I'm going to steal their kid and see how it goes.
And then like he thought that, so when she finds out about like the cheating and the mistress and everything, like she comes to him and he gets drunk and he's like, oh, I know someone who could help you get away with it. They're trying to set up like this long con. And then like she's like ends up doing it. But he thought the whole time that she was going to kill her husband and not the mistress. And so he's like so upset. Oh my God, this is like so incoherent. I really, really enjoyed this. Like I also gave it 4 stars. I don't know like what was missing from making it. I don't know.
I can't identify either.
It was well paced. It was well done. I really enjoyed it. Like I didn't see most of the twists coming. I thought like it was a really interesting exploration of like grief and loss. Like the main characters like support Marin's support group about like losing their children, about how like they really only ever came to terms with their loss once they figured out like whether their child was alive or dead or not. And usually dead. And it was only then when they could move on, because like the whole like unknowing was so strong.
Yeah. And like Marin's reluctance to sort of hold her husband accountable for the cheating, and the like wanting to have the mistress killed instead of the husband, and it's all tied to this thing where it's like, well, that's my son's father, I can't have him killed, I don't have anything, I need to preserve this relationship, this marriage. That's just such an interesting angle, and I do like the way that it was handled. I feel like there were so many ways that this could have gone wrong, because it is unhinged, but it still somehow felt
it's controlled.
grounded.
Yeah,
like
it goes crazy, but it's very controlled. It's like the author did not lose control of the plot, which is what I feel like often happens in thriller mysteries that do go crazy, like, and go to like unexpected places. I feel like they lose control of like, oh, and then I don't know how to like get this back together. I don't know how to tie this up.
How do I wrangle it? Yeah.
She wrangled it together. It was tied up perfectly. I think, like, I don't know, like maybe you just needed like exploration of like, you know, like less wealthy people, you know, maybe that, because like I felt like the barista was like the closest we got to like a normal person in this book, but she still was like very popular on Instagram and like did this extortion for money. And so I think like more exploration into like that subject area maybe would have got to 5. I really couldn't tell you. I really loved it, but it just was not, I didn't feel comfortable putting it in the ranks with like other 5-star books.
Same. Like that, I think that was my hesitation too. Like I had a great time. I absolutely recommend this. It's so good. And it does, I've mentioned this before, but my favorite thing for a mystery thriller to do is to lay enough groundwork where I can figure out some things, but then still deliver on some surprises, some things that I didn't see coming. And that's exactly what this did. Like I did peg the friend as the kidnapper. But I had no idea that the son was still alive. I didn't see it coming, the failed ransom attempt with the husband. There's also, I was absolutely shocked. Saul, the best friend, is also involved with the mistress barista. See,
it's funny because like I got that, but I did not get that like at first that he could. Like I suspected, but I was like not confident enough to be like Saul is the kidnapper. I was just like, I don't know, he's sus was all I had. But I was like, oh, this feels exactly like the friend, like in those scenes, like those flashbacks. So.
And like looking back, I was like, I should have pegged this, and I absolutely didn't. So when it was like, oh, he's also JP, which is how Mackenzie refers to him in her POV, I was like, what the heck? And so I feel like it just does such a good job of planting the seeds and then still delivering on some surprises.
It was just like so extremely satisfying as a mystery thriller. Like everything was so wrapped up well. Everything made sense. Nothing was like shocks were a shock just because like we're like, oh no, that was all there. We just missed it. Like I just didn't put everything together. Like it was just like. And then the format, like, I don't think I've ever read, like, you know, like someone plotting to kill someone, like POV, and then like that person POV. I'm like, oh shoot, like this is so cool.
And because it's not like strictly one of these people is absolutely the villain and one of them is absolutely the hero.
In different ways.
Both are, they're both terrible in very different ways.
I'm now remembering one of my notes, which was, we hear about this coffee machine way too much. Like, it's mentioned in detail, like at least 5 times. And I'm just like, okay, can we not with the even like in like a critical moment when like the private investigator coming to help because she heard a piece of information, comes to the home and she's like, oh, the coffee machine that can make me a latte, yes, I would love one. I want this coffee machine. I'm like, what's happening? Is this a sponsored content? Like, what's going on?
That's fair. Yeah. I also, okay, I really enjoyed at the very end when so there's this whole plot where Saul and Mackenzie and the hitman ended up scheming to try to extort some money from Marin and her husband, saying that Mackenzie was kidnapped and like beat up and stuff like that. And it all fails from there. This is how they find out where the son is and everything like that. But I liked at the very end that Marin still ended up giving Mackenzie the $250,000 because it was like, it just felt like such a badass kind of move where it's like, you know what? I hate you. You slept with my husband, but also you were kind to my kid and like you are having a hard time. So just like take it.
And the Louboutins.
I don't know. I really enjoyed that.
And the fancy shoes. And
yes. And yep. It was such a power play, but it was in such a way that was like at like a begrudging kind of, I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, and I liked it because it was just like her being like, I have my son back. I have my family back. I don't need this shit anymore. She should have given her the coffee machine, honestly.
Honestly, that would have been quite a twist.
It was also like those specific shoes that tipped her off that something was amiss, that she had been there because like Mackenzie had come in and tried on the shoes and didn't put them back correctly. Which is like, wow. If you're listening to this and you haven't read it, read it. I think you'd still have a good time even if you knew the twist. I think it's still like really
I think so too.
I really, really liked it. I can't really pinpoint what would have given it 5 stars at all. Like I don't know what was missing, but it was just like it was really, it's like one of the better mystery thrillers I've read this year, and it was definitely like the best like one surrounding like a cheating partner. Like
yes,
by far,
for sure. Yeah.
Very like masterful plotting by our gal Jennifer. Tawny, I hear that you read 11 more books that you haven't covered yet on the podcast.
I did.
And I hear that I'm so nice and I gave you an extra 30 seconds to cover them, and we read too much. Section of the pod we're now in.
Yes, the thing is that just logistically 11 books were not going to happen in 90 seconds, and I don't know why I did this to myself, but here we are. So
here we are. Well, the thing is that I only have 2 more to talk about, and I don't need all 90 of my seconds. So I'm giving you 30 of my seconds.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
In this very special edition of We Read Too Much, I will be speaking for 2 minutes.
Yes.
Instead of 90
I'll go first just because it's less, it's just like less entertaining. Let's end on a high note. So I read 2 more books. I'm setting my timer for 60 seconds.
Okay.
Plenty of time. Too much time. First is the sequel to From Blood and Ash. It's A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire by Jennifer L. Armentrout. If you like plot, if you like things happening, if you like people going places, do not read this book. That doesn't happen for a long time. It's so long, nothing happens. They just talk about doing things. It's so frustrating. I hate it so much. Was the ending exciting and making me want to know what happens next? Yes. Will I be reading that 3rd book? I don't know. I haven't decided yet. What a bad time. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. Okay. 2nd book, Daniel's Running Formula by Jack Daniels, the 2nd nonfiction book. I don't have much to say about this. It's a book that tells you running things and gives you charts and a running plan. My main critique is that he has a chart about paces for runners, and then he has a paragraph about like running's gotten more popular, so more plebs have started running. So here's a chart for slow people too, and then the chart for slow people. And I think that's weird and insulting and a bad move.
Oh, okay. Wow, perfection.
I gave 4 out of 5 stars. I don't know how to rate that book. I just like, I don't know, it was helpful.
I think that's fair. I think that is fair. Also, yeah, it can be one chart, sir. God.
One chart.
It's not that difficult. Okay. I gotta prepare.
Me struggling to do 2 books in 60 seconds spells out a lot for you right now.
I know. I'm so nervous. Okay. I'm gonna start my timer in 3, 2, 1. Okay, 4 Winds by Kristen Hanna. Dust Bowl Depression era family drama. This is very sad and very beautifully written. This is so popular and highly acclaimed right now. You're probably tired of hearing about it already. 4 stars. The Holiday Swap by Maggie Knox. A set of twins and professional bakers have to secretly switch places after one of them suffers a head injury. They bake things. They fall in love. This is a Hallmark movie. It's cute, but it's not going to blow your mind. 3 stars. Window Shopping by Tessa Bailey, also a Hallmark movie, but if Hallmark movies were porn, an ex-convict is hired by the owner of a New York department store to dress their windows for Christmas. Not actively bad, but not for me. 2 stars. Our Violent Ends by Chloe Gong, the conclusion of the These Violent Delights duology, which is a retelling of Romeo and Juliet set in the 1920s Hong Kong, just extremely fun. 4 stars. The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett, historical fiction about Black twins, one of whom leaves her family and attempts to pass as white, and the repercussions of this for her family. This was beautifully written, and I'm going to encourage you to seek out reviews from Black readers. 4 stars. King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo, most recent duology in the Grishaverse, following Nikolai, Zoya, and Nina. I say this as a Nikolai stan. This was boring and weird. 2 stars. The Hawthorne Legacy by Jennifer Barnes, second book in the Inheritance Games trilogy. Not quite as good as the first, but still extremely fun. 4 stars. Float Plan by Trisha Dollar. A new widow goes on a sailing trip she had planned with her late husband, meets a cute boy. Picked this up on a whim and it was much better than I thought it would be. 4 stars. Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber, fairy tale-esque YA fantasy that was fun, but not particularly memorable. 3 stars. A Shadow in the Ember by Jennifer L. Armentrout, prequel to the From Blood and Ash series. Actually, the second best of the series. I can't tell if I like it here or if I'm just trapped. 3 stars. These Hollow Vows by Lexi Ryan. This is described as ACOTAR meets The Cruel Prince. It's fun, but our heroine is frustratingly dumb. I'll still probably read the next one though. 3 stars. I did it. 8 seconds to start.
That was amazing. Look at you.
Oh my God.
After time.
Barely.
I'm so excited that I'm reading one of your 2-star reads. That's great. I'm still reading the second Hawthorne book because I couldn't get into it in the beginning. So I'm still there.
That's fair.
Currently reading is just like a long list at this point because I'm just like,
nope. Trying it. Not yet. What's next?
So, wow, I'm so amazed. I'm in awe of you, a person who could review 11 books in 2 minutes. Beautiful.
Wow. Even though it took me like 30 minutes to review The Spanish Love Deception, it's fine.
It's fine. She liked it.
Balance.
Oh my goodness, Tawny, this is the best part of the month.
It really is.
I love it so much. Some things that our listeners can look forward to. 1, we're doing a read along of the Mortal Instruments series. We're so excited. I started my reread a couple days ago. Tawny's gonna start her first read soon.
Yeah, probably tomorrow, I think.
It's gonna be so fun. It's a YA fantasy series. That's weird.
I'm so excited to experience this for the first time. It's gonna be good. We're doing the Mortal Instruments and Infernal Devices. Yes. I learned the names of these series.
We have a fun segment called Feels Like the First Time, as inspired by Joanna Robinson and Kristen Russo, where we do a little quiz for Tawny at the beginning. So that'll be a fun segment.
You'll find out that I know nothing.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be so fun. And then we're gonna have an end of the year special. Probably best of 2021 books we've read draft. That's gonna be a fun bonus episode that we'll plan out. So look forward to that. Maybe we'll also do some like awards for books of 2021. So keep your eye out for that. Let us know if you have any special end of year ideas, because we're coming on 1 full year of podcasts, 6 full months of publishing podcasts, you know?
You don't need to care about the backlist. It happened for us.
It's
it
a
did not happen for you.
It's archived forever. No one can have it.
No.
No one. But thanks so much to all our listeners. This was so much fun, and we hope that you got some good book recommendations after this. I'm Katie, and you can find me at @CatZellNerd or at @CatZellner on Instagram and Twitter and Goodreads and most things. Tawny, where can people find you?
You can find me at Tawny Waterman on Instagram, Twitter, Goodreads.
Yeah, and some of us have successfully been posting reviews on Instagram on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and some of us haven't. But you can follow us on Instagram at BookeringsPod to see some book reviews. We
post semi-aesthetic photos of books, and then we review them. And then sometimes we also do tweets. We have social media.
We have a social media presence, and
we do.
It's our Christmas present. Yeah.
Yeah,
you can social media Christmas presents. Anyways, we're gonna go watch a bad Christmas rom-com, and we recommend that you do the same. Why don't we have a sign off yet? Why don't we?
You know what? We've done this too many times publicly, and just we don't have. We're gonna work on it. We're gonna work on it.
I mean, our intro is just me saying hello and welcome. So it could be.
I think, yeah.
It could just be goodbye.